Yes, I'm the queen of porn, but it's only to protect our children. Page 59, are you going to eat her pussy?
Yeah, Earl, I'm going to eat her pussy.
And it talks about butt fucking and anal sex. I know. Daddy put his pee-pee smelling thing in my mouth.
What?
Then she say, "Thank you, Ms. Clarice, for fucking my husband, you nasty little slut." And then he grabbed my hand and made me touch it. It was the first time I'd ever touched a penis that wasn't my own. Cousins aren't supposed to do things with cousins. Page 181. The little girls are the only thing I miss. Do you know that when I touched their sturdy little tits a bit, just a little, I felt I was being friendly? This is a problem. They are after our kids and we're allowing it. Obviously, it's to take our kids away and make them all transgender. I mean, they think the government knows best. I do not know one school district, and we have searched all 50 states, that does not have pornographic books both in the library and often assigned for 9th grade English. And it continues.
What the Karen England is a longtime advocate for family values, parental rights, and education reform in the United States. She's the executive director of the Capital Resource Institute, a nonprofit organization focused on protecting religious liberty and promoting traditional family policies through legislation. Mrs. England has been actively involved in opposing sexually explicit content in school curricula and pushing for greater transparency in education. She's the founder of the Kitchen Table Activist and Take Back the Classroom, initiatives that equip parents with tools to challenge inappropriate materials in school libraries. With years of experience testifying before state legislatures, she is known for her strong stance on conservative social issues. Today, she continues to be a leading voice in debates around school policy, gender ideology, and parental rights. Originally from Colorado, lived 20 years in California, she now resides in Tennessee, continuing her mission to empower parents nationwide. Karen is a woman of God. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So let me paint the picture. So obviously I'm a foreigner, I'm not the American, right? So we migrated here 2 years ago. I'm from a small country called Lithuania, and I would even argue that Lithuania is, the population of my country is 2.7 million, right?
Okay.
So the whole country is like a small state, and paint me the picture, explain me what is happening in schools as I'm a foreigner, and as if I am an American that is not from California, New York, or Texas, right, from the small town that has no idea what's going on, but they hear like on the Instagram, on YouTube, on some other places that something's going on with their kids and their education, especially with the explicit books and the materials in those books. So if you can just start, what's going on with the education in America?
Okay, well, first I'm going to start with you coming from a foreign country and the assumption, and I don't know if it was this for you, but I know a lot of people that have come from Romania that thought this was a Christian country, and so they were a little bit shocked when they get here and they see what's going on in the realm of education, because they come from countries where they thought this would never happen, and that Christians were kind of active in our form of government, which we have been a little bit more so since COVID. But I live in a red county in a red state, and I travel all the red states. I'm very passionate about that. There is sexualization of our kids going on K through 12 in both the curriculum and the school libraries in every single school district. I do not know one school district, and we have searched all 50 states, that does not have pornographic books both in the library and often assigned for 9th grade English. And let me give you an example. Again, Clarksville, Tennessee. We are the reddest county right outside of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Reddest county in the reddest state, and in 2022 a law was passed telling schools to strip their libraries of sexually explicit books. Our school district is still one of the worst school districts in the country. Red state, red county, because the local community has not taken the active and gotten rid of these books in demanding that the school board hold the administration accountable. Parents are up against, whether it's the curriculum or the libraries in school, they are up against a huge juggernaut of the American Library Association, teachers unions, the progressive groups, and they're all in control of what goes on in those schools, whether it's a red state in Texas, Florida. Florida has the same library books, Tennessee, as California. I will tell you that my school district is worse than Chino Valley Unified.
Really?
Yes.
Let's go through examples, because
Okay.
you've got lots of books. So let's start with the examples. Then we're going to go, why did it start? When did it start? And etc. So just show me the example, worst
Okay.
of the worst.
Well, I'm going to read from the worst of the worst, but I didn't bring that book. But because it's in Newport Mesa Unified School District, I'd like to start with it. And it's one that John Amanchukwa opened with I was with him in the Washoe County Unified School District, and he opened with it in his documentary, 22 Words. So this is American Psycho. One thing I want to preface all of this with is a lot of these books have been turned into movies. Keep in mind the movies are R-rated.
Yes.
The books
Don't.
aren't.
And this book, American Psycho, became a movie in 2000. This is the book.
And so the movie was an R taken from the book that they had to weed stuff out in order to make it an R.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
So worse than R is NC-17, right? You have
yeah, and again,
it's like porn.
porn. And people think that's hyperbole when I say it, and that's why I'm passionate about doing the readings, because this is what I am talking about. This is what we are trying to protect children from. This is what we are spending taxpayer dollars on purchasing. And this one, so I'm going to read this. It's not for sensitive ears, so I want to tell anyone watching, this could trigger you. Almost everything I'm going to read today would trigger you. This is in Encinitas. This is in schools all over the country, but I wanted to use one specific to where you live. So here we go. Last night, I rented a movie called Inside Lydia's Ass, and while on two Halcyon and, in fact, sipping a Diet Pepsi, I watched as Lydia, a totally tanned, beached blonde hard body with a perfect ass and great full tits, while on all fours gave head to this guy with a huge cock, while another gorgeous blonde, little hard body with a perfectly trimmed blonde pussy knelt behind Lydia, and after eating her ass out and sucking on her cunt, started to push a long greased silver vibrator into Lydia. And I'm just going to stop there. It
Into
continues.
Lydia's ass and
Yeah.
fuck
it
her
keeps
with
going.
it while it's continuing to eat her put. And this book is in the school library.
Yes, purchased with taxpayer dollars.
So kid from K to 12 can go to the school library, take this book and read it.
Yes, and they are. And depending on, this one right now is at, it's all over the country in different school districts, but this is at Encinitas High School. One copy found. And yeah, and then these books, and these books become the books that everyone's like, yeah, we're going to go check that out. Yeah, that's the, and they continuously get checked out. So yes.
Yeah,
now, I would say that is one of the worst of the worst, but that's bad. And there's stuff that is just as bad.
I wouldn't say that this book is bad. This book is just not for children.
Correct.
If you're
Sorry,
18-year-old, you can read this book, right? But
Yes,
it's not
and
just meant for children.
Thank you. I want to make that distinction because several of these books that are in schools are books that adults are reading. One example would be The Glass Castle. And I remember when I was doing some research and my daughter-in-law said, "Oh, I read that book." And I said, "In high school?" She goes, "No, I was 33."
Yeah.
She goes, and she comes from a traumatic background and it has some traumatic stuff in it. And she knew what she was doing in reading it. So she wasn't a minor having her mind assaulted and raped by reading a book that sounds innocent, The Glass Castle, but is very, very graphic.
So this is
This is in high schools all over the country.
Newport Mesa. So Newport Beach and I want to say Costa Mesa are the reddest areas of Southern California. That's why I asked you to look into this area. So and you've got 99 books in that area in the libraries.
So, well, in that, no. Well, let me see. We have in the whole area. Oh no, that's just in that.
Is just in one high school?
Yes, there's actually 33 schools. We haven't searched every single school, but there's 323 pornographic books.
So you've got only 99 books in one high school library.
Yes.
99?
Yes.
Give me a few other examples.
Oh,
How bad are those books?
Oh, good. Let's see. Let's go to something I can pronounce. Costa Mesa High School. And you can follow along with me. One thing about takebacktheclassroom.com, you can go to the website, go to your state, go to your school district, and look up the specific books that are in that specific school. So let's see. You can look down, you can see them all as you. Let's see, how many do we have in this school? We have 56 books at Costa Mesa High School.
Yes.
So you'll see that there's a ton of Ellen Hopkins in there, and there's a ton of Sarah J. Maas. Those are everywhere.
Who are those authors?
Those authors are very common. You see these books everywhere. A lot of adult women are reading them. I do not know of any school district that does not have one, if not the whole series. And then the other one is Sarah J. Maas, and this is Ellen Hopkins, and this is all over. And I'll read from this one. I don't know if Identical's in that. It's in that district, but I don't know if it's in that school. I'd have to look that one up. But let me read. This is, if you come from trauma, sexual abuse, incest, warning, because this is going to rip a Band-Aid off. And that's what really concerns me, is that we have our minor girls that have been through sexual trauma reading a book, and all of a sudden it's opening a wound, and the parents have no idea. This is on page 150, but it's throughout the book. Mom was gone. Can't exactly remember why, only that we didn't expect her to come home until very late. It was dark in our room. These are two identical twins. Velvety black. Someone had closed the curtain. Kaylee was scared. I tried to tell her not to worry, but just then, Daddy burst through the door. I closed my eyes and made myself no more than a shadow. Something about him was different. I didn't want that something to find me. I cracked my eyes, just a slit, as he sat on Kaylee's bed, pulled her into his lap. He smelled of brute and wild turkey, his peculiar potpourri. And now this is the dad talking to Kaylee while the sister is watching. I love you so much, my little flower. Daddy needs something from my girl, my sweet rose. Will you give it to me? I wanted to be his little flower. Side note, when you come from any sort of sexual abuse, incest, especially with the family member, especially with these young girls, you're confused over why pick her over me. I mean, because your vision of all of this stuff, your understanding is very different. So it's very normal that she's wondering, what's Daddy doing? I mean, she knows it's a little off, but to wonder, I want you to love me that way, not really understanding what that way is. So I wanted to be his little flower. Would have given my daddy anything. What did he want from Kaylee? She laid her head on his chest. What? I want you to see something that proves how much I love you. This is only for you, Kaylee girl. He lifted her gently, sat her down on the bed beside him. Then he opened the snaps on the fly of his flannel pajamas. It stood up, stiff. See how much Daddy loves you? Show me you love me too. Touch it. He closed her hand around it. I know it sounds bad, but I wanted to touch it too. I didn't know what it meant, only that it made Daddy happy. I wanted to make him happy too. That's right, his voice rocked rhythm with his body. Oh yes, my Kaylee, my little flower, you love me.
How old are those girls?
This chronicles from the time they were about 9 all the way through adulthood and kind of the same scenes as they go through that.
And these books are in school libraries. Kids
I
can
don't
pick it
know
up.
one school, kids, actually identicals in middle schools too.
Middle school is what age?
Middle school, let's see, high school starts around 14, so middle school's anyway like 11, 12, 13, 14, depending on, yeah.
Incest. Not just, I want to say, not just sex, not just pornography, pervert.
But yeah, and again, you're picking up a book not knowing, let's say you come from some trauma, or let's say you just make it through that chapter. What seeds are reading that, especially with the sister looking on going, again, these aren't adults who've lived life. These are young people reading it, and you're 14 and you're reading this, and you get to the part where it's like, oh, I wanted daddy to love me that way too. What does that do to a kid going through puberty, confused about their body, confused about their feelings? All of that stuff is normal, but this is what we're pouring into them while they're going through all those questions that they have in life.
What this book is all about in the first place?
Well, it's this gal is a little bit crazy, but it's about the sexual abuse that in the incest that they go through. And finally, at the end, she realizes that was misplaced love of my dad, but it's an awfully thick book to, again, not appropriate for minors and not appropriate for anyone that doesn't want to read that stuff. I mean, it's ripping Band-Aids off girls who have been sexually molested, whether it's incest or not. And again, there's just no literary value to it, which is what the other side always says. Oh, well, some of these books have literary value. No, there's nothing in this book that a 14-year-old has to read that has real literary value.
It's not based on a real story. It's just a fiction book.
This is a fiction book, Ellen Hopkins, and she has a ton of them. And she obviously had a traumatic childhood because her books are tricks, crank, glorify drug use, I mean, that was mild, and it's funny because in the documentary they shut him down because he was using vulgarity. I knew the school district. They didn't know what to do when I read this because there wasn't one word that they could shut me down and say you can't say that word.
Correct.
I mean, we had planned it that way.
It got hard.
Yeah, because it wasn't vulgar, but it made you sick to your stomach.
Correct.
It always makes me sick to my stomach when I read that. And so it's just really interesting that they didn't know what to do with it. And the great thing is our website, one thing I was able, let me give you an example. Reno, Nevada. Nevada's turning red. This is in two middle schools and 10 high schools. Reno, Nevada.
Just in one town. I've been to Reno, Nevada. It's not a big town.
No. Yeah, not a big town and not a liberal town for being Nevada. Clark County's a little different, but not a liberal town at all. As a matter of fact, very purple helped kind of swing the state for Trump, was getting the vote out in every one of the rural counties and the counties that are not Las Vegas and holding Las Vegas. And so, yeah, two middle schools.
Let's go through other books because you've got lots of them.
Okay.
I just want for parents to realize that this is not one or two or even 10 books. It's like dozens and dozens of them.
Dozens and dozens. Okay, we'll just get this is let's see, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This is sometimes assigned in freshman English. So I'll kind of caveat. They're in libraries, but they're also assigned in freshman English.
Assigned, it means you have to read it.
You have to read it.
Part of the program.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Do you know what masturbation is? I think you probably do because you are older than me, but just in case, I will tell you. Masturbation is when you rub your genitals until you have an orgasm. Wow. I thought that in these movies and television shows when they talk about having a coffee break that they should have a masturbation break. But then I think this would decrease productivity.
Once again, this is a fictional book.
Oh, they all are, with the exception of, I think, everything on our website. There is a book called, I believe it's A Stolen Life, which is J.C. Dugard, which she was kidnapped out of the Bay Area and held in this man's backyard for over 20 years with lots of sexual abuse.
But at least
so
it's
that's a real story.
true
But
story,
it's
yeah.
very, and it's as bad as American Psycho. So it's not for children, but it is her story. Let's see. Oh, page 49. I asked my sister about this, and she said that Sam has low self-esteem. My sister also said that Sam had a reputation when she was a sophomore. Keep in mind, according to my sister, Sam used to be a blow queen. I hope you know what that means, because I really can't think about Sam and describe it to you.
Let's go. A blow queen. Nice term to learn in school.
Yeah. Now this one, Red Hood, and let me see, because for some reason this is not highlighted. So I'm gonna go on to where's Looking for Alaska. Let me do this one because this is in Newport, and this is often assigned in 9th grade English. So I'm gonna pull it. Looking for Alaska sounds innocent.
Yeah.
You would pick it up and go,
Adventurous.
oh, yes. And of course, it's got a little award on it, so of course it's good and approved.
Best-selling author.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's not this. Okay, I'm going to start with nothing. She got her boob honked over the summer. She walked over to me with her hand extended, and then a quick move downward. At the last moment, she pulled down my shorts. Don't grab my boob. And then we keep going. These are 14-year-olds. And she liked you and thought you were quietly discussing pre-cal when she was clearly talking about having hot sex with you, which is why you need me. She jumped onto him and wrapped her legs around him. God forbid anyone ever does that to me. I thought I'd fall over. I'd heard Alaska's a girl. I heard Alaska talk about kissing, but I'd never seen her kiss until then. And as he held her by her waist, she leaned forward, her pouty lips parted, her head just slightly tilted, and enveloped her mouth with such passion that I felt I should look away, but couldn't. A good while later, she untangled herself with Jake and introduced me. Did I tell you Jake is hung like a horse? And beautiful, sensual lover. I mean, it's full of sexual relationship of these minor children, on and on. I'll end with this one on page 99, but as you can see, there's more to go. French, feel, finger, fuck. It's like you skipped 3rd grade, Alaska said.
An F word in the book.
Oh, these are full of F words. And you can't say them on campus most of the time.
Yeah, but you can read it.
Oh, you can read it. Can't wear a shirt that says it, but you can read. This is frequently assigned. This is a very common.
What's the
book to be
morale of
assigned.
this book? So what does this book tell you?
With almost all of these books, and nothing goes on our website that I've not thoroughly researched, because there's some legalities with the First Amendment, and I want to make sure that I am being truthful about everything, and that I'm not just crying wolf on a one-off book. So they all have the moral I get from them is having sex.
It's great.
And graphic sex. And a lot of the Ellen Hopkins happen to be about drugs. And there's a moral about it becoming addictive and becoming a monster. But it also helps them explore their sexuality. You know, they show a lot of what they would consider the positive of being on drugs. I mean, she has a book called Crank. A lot of her books are on that, and she goes.
Have you watched this movie from year 2000, Requiem for a Dream?
Yes, and that's one of the books in the schools. I don't.
There is even a book.
Yeah, it was a book.
So I watched that
I
movie.
love seeing your face on all of this.
I watched that movie when I was 12 to 13 years old. So this movie stopped me from even trying to even touch a drug, because I've seen everything that was shown over there. I was like, I'm done. I'm good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, and these books, that's a side thing, but sex and having sex, how to have sex, how to explore is, let me see if this is on our site yet, is what these books are about. And you actually can go to our website, takebacktheclassroom.com, click on what's in our schools. You can get the states and the school, but at the top right, you will see what we call the bookshelf, and that is a list of all the different books. Red Hood. Let's see, where's Red Hood? These are remarkable. His kisses, tracing a path down your neck, his hands pulling low to the sweetheart necklace of your dress, his nose brushing your right nipple, and then a moment later, his lips capturing it, his tongue circling, his teeth skimming and biting, not hard, just enough to make your hands tighten into fists and clutch the blanket, enough to make your legs to begin to quiver.
What age?
Middle and high schools. I happen to have in here the Reno, and this in Reno was 7 schools.
In one town, in 7 schools.
But you can go look at your own town and see what's there. Oh, let's do, sorry, don't get me talking about this stuff. And I don't mean it like that, but this is what our kids are being given. Our tax dollars. So we're complicit. Not everyone can stop everything and do what I do. But that's why our organization exists, so we can help parents.
At least to know that this is happening.
To know. And it's up to us to get it removed. It's our tax dollars that are purchasing this. And we may be able to protect our own kid, but we can't protect the entire school culture that is being sexualized. And everyone has seen an increase in sexual abuse, sex on sex crimes at school, and especially if you start to pay attention, if you haven't already, the stories where the female teachers, the younger female teachers, are assaulting young, boys and girls. And it's because there's such a sexualized culture. And those kids, even if every Christian was to pull their kid out, which is never going to happen, we're still going to have, 80 to 90% of Christian kids in public school. The kids that are being sexualized, they are becoming our city councilmen, our attorneys, our doctors, our garbage man. They are being groomed, and they're being groomed with our tax dollars. So this is one.
What's the name of the book?
This is called All Boys Aren't Blue. I mean, it's so graphic. I want to be careful what I do read.
Go for it. This is in the book. You can't take the words out, right?
Yeah.
You're not the author.
I can't. All Boys Aren't Blue. This was interesting because in a committee hearing in Congress, this book was read by Senator Kennedy in Louisiana, and even the progressives that were against all this banning speech looked at the senator after he read a passage and said, "That made me really uncomfortable, you reading that." Well,
really?
My whole point is this is what we are talking about. I am not talking about Charlotte's Web. I'm not talking about the classics. I'm talking about pervasively vulgar sexual grooming in books that our tax dollars are paying for. Someone else can go buy them off Amazon if they want their kids to read them, but they don't need to use my tax dollars to sexually groom and desensitize an entire generation of kids, because this stuff starts in elementary school.
It has nothing to do with the First Amendment.
Oh, no. And
if you want, you can read it.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't even like to say the word banned books. I recently, on my Instagram, there's a story where I was in the Capitol in California just a couple months ago testifying to save girls in sports. And a gal had a read banned books t-shirt on. And so I went up to her, and of course I had someone turn the camera on, and I said, "Oh, could you tell me what books I should read that are banned and how I can get them?" You want to ban books? I said, well, no, I don't, but how can I read it if it's banned? Like, where can I get it? Can you name a book I can't get off Amazon? Well, you want to ban books? Okay, but can you tell me one that I can't get off Amazon right now if I was to go Google it?
Because there are none.
Yeah. She said, I am going to be done talking to you. I'm going to politely walk away. And I'm like, hey,
no arguments.
Yeah, you're the one wearing the read band. You're making a statement. I'm just responding to it. I mean, if I wear a statement T-shirt, and sometimes I wear my Stop Porn in Schools, I'm ready to defend what I mean by wearing a statement.
Yeah.
I mean, she's saying something, but does she really know what she's saying?
No.
Because no.
No.
Okay, here we go.
So it says a memoir manifesto.
Yes.
So it's a real story.
Yes.
Kinda.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what all what all is true or not. Yeah, but page 201. Yeah, but I laughed and said, "Get your hand off my butt." You giggled. "That's not my hand." "You're lying," I said, then placed both hands on my hips as we lay side by side. There was still something poking me. You were fully erect at this point. I was nervous. We gonna get in trouble? You can't tell anybody, okay? You promise that you're not gonna tell anyone? I promised. And then he grabbed my hand and made me touch it. It was the first time I'd ever touched a penis that wasn't my own. I knew what was happening. I knew what was happening wasn't supposed to happen. Cousins aren't supposed to do things with cousins, but my body didn't react that way. My body on the inside was doing something too.
Cousins?
Cousins.
So there is an excerpt on your website, which is another one. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself, but this was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me, and he was large. I had previously topped someone who clearly enjoyed it, but he had been enjoying anal sex before I ever came along. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. He then added more lubricant and tried again. I didn't stay long, nor did I masturbate after. What age? Middle school?
Some middle schools and high schools. But high school starts at 14.
Cause it's not just okay. So, sex, which is pornography, right? Heterosexual sex, then homosexual sex, incest, and now it's even cousins, relatives having sex with each other.
And he's basically saying, "Hey, I never did it before. I wasn't supposed to, but boy, my body was loving it." And
it's like maybe the reader that reads, maybe I'm the one that will feel this as well.
Yeah, I want to feel that too.
Yeah, because the author didn't know he liked it before he tried it. Maybe I should too, right?
Yep.
Why not?
And again, then you go on and on and on, and he's talking about how great it all is. Yeah, and I mean, I think you have one son, young. I've had 4 kids, lots of cousins. When they're about 5 or 6, the little girls always like the older boy cousins that'll play soccer with them or, hang out. That's really natural to be like, oh, I really like Cousin Sam. Or don't be putting these ideas in their heads.
Correct.
This is grooming to them. It is a really normal thing to have a crush on a cousin or a neighbor boy that's older. That's really normal for young kids.
And it doesn't last long.
No, it doesn't, because you grow up and you start to realize he's that isn't appropriate.
But if you plant the seed,
unless you're
that
planting
this is
the seed,
normal.
And if you're a groomer, an abuser, what do you think you're reading to these kids to draw them into you? Even younger than 14.
Let's continue.
Oh gosh. Okay, no, I'm loving this. Again, go to our website. This one is in a lot of schools and not a lot of people know. Freedom Writer's Diary.
I love your website.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, we have worked hard. Let me see. Now that you're finding even more salacious ones when you look on our site, I want to make sure I get the good ones.
I presume she must have been. This is
okay. You go.
You go. I go? Okay. I presume she must have been given specific instructions because while we were sizzled, she kneeled in front of David O'Neill, a popular junior boy. I couldn't make out exactly what was happening, but he was holding something in front of him that looked like a bottle, and I think she was crying. Then her head started moving back and forth. And as a crowd of rowdy boys gathered around them, she started to go help her. I was pushed back to the ground as a voice screamed, "Where do you think you're going? Whore! Did I say you could get up?" It was one of the members.
Yeah, simulating a blowjob.
Correct.
Just
What
throwing
age?
it out there. I mean, I'm used to this, and so I knew that. So I just wanted to make sure everyone else did.
Once again, what age?
I mean, 14 and up. Actually, this book I have found in some elementary school libraries across the country. So it's in middle schools, high schools mainly, but I have found it in elementary schools. Meet Earl and the Dying Girl. Let's go there.
One moment. So this book says how a teacher and 150 teens used writing to change themselves and the world around them. How does a blowjob changes the world?
Well, don't ask me. I'm not the writer of it.
Maybe we should ask Bill Clinton.
That's.
And it says New York Times bestseller.
Oh, they all are. Yes. Let me see.
Who buys those books?
Our librarians. Books in schools are purchased by the librarian, and they basically are given a budget, and they're the ones picking it, and they're listening to the American Library Association tell them what they should purchase, and they're purchasing them. And you can see it on our website specifically. Go to your own school, see it, and take a look at what is in your own school.
How do you become a best-selling author in America? It's like, for instance, it's selling 100 books, and if you, that month or that period of time your book is in top 10, you're becoming one of those bestsellers?
Yeah, you become one of the bestsellers, or a lot of these. This series, the newest one just came out, A Court of Mist and Fury, and they're all bright. Let me see if I've got another one here. They're all.
I might
really-
have seen those in Costco.
Yes, and the airports. They're everywhere in the airports. And adult women, I did see an adult man reading it. They're everywhere. So again, these are adults. But here's what the back of the book says. So any librarian that orders this for, again, I say 14-year-olds because if you're a high school, 9th through 12th graders are having access to this book. Mm-hmm. And some of these are found in middle schools. Again, not as common, but I have not seen a school district that does not have at least one, if not the whole series of Sarah J. Maas. Here's the back of it. So, about how great it is. Masterful storytelling from a #1 New York Times bestselling author, Sarah J. Maas, brings her sexy, action-packed series to new heights. Praise for The Court of Thorns and Roses. Passionate, violent, sexy, and daring from USA Today. Hits the
Violent? Okay. So if it's violent, it's great.
hits the spot for fans of dark, lush sex fantasy.
Okay.
Now that alone should prohibit it from minors.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, Meet Earl and the Dying Girl, now a major motion picture. Woohoo! So this one is one that is in a lot of the schools. Are you pulling it up? So
Correct.
I'm going to go, I don't know what we put on our website, but...
Now a major motion picture.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Awesome.
That means it's okay. Page 59, are you going to eat her pussy?
Yeah, Earl, I'm going to eat her pussy. Ha! Yeah, do you even know how to eat pussy?
Yep. I'm on a pussy deadline if you continue. You've got 20 vaginas all lined up in a row. Oh, hell. What the hell? No one's talking about vaginas. What the hell is wrong with you? And this stuff continues. This is often one of the books that is on a list to pick for 9th grade English. Page 206. So you can be heterosexual or homosexual, and I feel like I understand that. Like you're a woman in a man's body or some shit, but I've been thinking about it, and how the fuck can somebody call themselves bisexual? Greg says, ugh. Earl, man, ain't nobody like that fine-ass girl is making me hard right now. Oh, wait, my mistake. That dude over there is the one that's making me hard. That don't make no goddamn sense.
It says a novel. That's a novel.
Yeah.
It's almost like a classic.
Yeah. The book that inspired the film. Destined not only to connect with young audiences in a big way, but also endure as a touchstone for its generation.
A touchstone for its generation. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So in 100 years, people are going to read this book. So it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, about eating
Shakespeare.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you that I used to poo-poo the moms that would do this until I saw, and we'll do a few more of these, and then I'd like to share some of the elementary school things, and because this stuff is going on from the time they're in kindergarten. So by the time, an example I like to use, we used to, in our kids, when they were growing up, when they got older, they wanted to get on MySpace, and then it was Facebook. Now, young girls,
Onlyfans?
and they're hammering because they cannot wait to get 18 and start their own OnlyFans because...
This is so cool.
Yeah, because they've been so desensitized and been taught to exploit your sexuality and your God, the body God gave you, and there's a worldview that you're sexual from the moment you're born, and so it's yours to express, and it's just the parents and those, I hear this a lot, pearl clutching Christians that want to stop you from it. Oh, I love when I testify at a state capitol to wear pearls and pink because I like to look like a church lady. So it shocks them when, as it should, stuff comes out of my mouth. And it should offend you. And if your viewers are offended by what I've read, I warned you, number one. But number two, don't be offended at me. Be offended that your school district bought this book and is giving it to minors. Take that anger, that uncomfortable feeling you have because I'm reading this out loud, and channel it to the people who are feeding this to our minor children with our tax dollars. And so I don't like doing this. As a matter of fact, there are people on my own staff that can't do some of the stuff with the books because of their sexual trauma, and they emotionally cannot do it. I understand the receiving end when you're not expecting to hear this. And for whatever reason, I know this is going to sound very strange to other Christians, but God has given me this as a calling and a purpose.
100%.
And I have a whole team praying for me because it is a very, very dark. You see this, and if I'm highlighting books throughout the day, you can see how I'm going from eat your pussy. This
is horrendous. Yeah. This is the most horrible.
And I think we've got about 320 books on our website. Not one book gets on there without me going through it.
Let's go a few more and then we're going to continue.
Okay, let's go with The Lovely Bones. This is frequently...
There's a movie, right?
Oh, probably is.
It's about a pedophile kidnapping a kid?
Stunning Achievement. A triumphant novel. It's a knockout. This one is frequently used in public schools. And let me see if they do a description. Well, you can see our website. We actually start with the description the way Amazon tells it, and then you can compare it to the excerpts as to, and I'm not sure if The Lovely Bones is up there yet or not, but okay, here we go. We'll just start here on page 11.
Right away.
After this, he said, "You're very pretty, Susie." "Thanks," I said, even though he gave me what my friend Clarissa had dubbed the skeevies. "Do you have a boyfriend?" "No, Mr. Harvey." I said. I swallowed the rest of my Coke, which was a lot, and said, "I gotta go, Mr. Harvey. This is a cool place, but I have to go." He stood up, did his hunchback number by the 6 dug-in steps that led into the world. I don't know. Actually, this doesn't even make sense to me. "I don't know why you think you're leaving." I talked so that I would not have to take in this knowledge. Mr. Harvey was no character. He made me feel skivvy and icky, and now he was blocking the door. "Mr. Harvey, I really do have to get home." "Take off your clothes." What? Take your clothes off, Mr. Harvey said. I want to check that you're still a virgin. I am, Mr. Harvey, I said. I want to make sure your parents will thank me. My parents? They only want good girls, he said. Mr. Harvey, I said, please let me leave now. You aren't leaving, Susie, you're mine now. I fought hard. I fought as hard as I could to not let Mr. Harvey hurt me. But my hard as I could was not hard enough, not even close. And I was soon lying down on the ground in the ground with him on top of me, panting and sweating, having lost his glasses in the struggle. And
so excerpt that you have on the website is, my father was the kind of dad who kept a nude photo of you when you were 3.
Yeah.
In the downstairs bathroom. The one that guests would use.
14-year-olds are being assigned this in school. This one is another very, very common one. Because building our website, and we've searched all 50 states, we can see the books that are most popular in the schools, that maybe there's, 8,000 of them across the U.S. And that shifts a little bit every time we do a new state or school district, or like right now we're working on Clark County, Nevada, which is the 5th largest school district in the country, but they password protect everything, so even parents can't go in and look unless they get their child's password.
I wonder why.
Yeah. So we only have 3 schools, but we're working on that one. So things change as the data comes in. But Lovely Bones, Looking for Alaska, Looking for Alaska, there's a few more that are frequently, Speak. Okay, Speak is one. That is frequent.
You know how they say that when a kid is, I want to say 2 to 3 years old, or 1 to 2 years old, he kind of touches the world, and he wants to find out whether the world is safe, right? So what kind of world does he live in? It depicts his future. So if 14 years olds read these books, they kind of realize that the world is mad. And it's not safe.
Or, I think we were all gaslit, and then I think when Trump won, I woke up and I said, see, I knew everyone was normal and believed like I did about, boys in girls' sports and all of that. So this also gets them questioning the way they are raised, because all of this stuff is acceptable and everyone's doing it. And that leads me to another book turned movie. What I want to share about this is, I think, 25 years old. This is the 25th anniversary edition. And it's been made into a movie. It is often Clarksville, Tennessee. I have a staff gal that works for me from Clarksville. She's in her late 20s, early 30s. She said that this book was the book when she was in high school in Clarksville, Tennessee, that was the book that everyone wanted to go check out. So after somebody checked it out, this was, if she's 31, this was 15 years ago.
15 years
ago.
ago.
Everybody was
2010,
checking out.
Obama era.
Yeah. Oh, I often say this is my favorite just because I think it's just so weird. White cunt box got my file on her desk. I see it. I ain't that late to lunch. She looked at me like I said I want to suck a dog's dick or some shit. Daddy put his pee-pee smelling thing in my mouth.
What?
Daddy put his pee-pee smelling thing in my mouth, my pussy, but never hold me. Then she say, thank you, Ms. Clarice, Precious Jones, for fucking my husband, you nasty little slut. I feel like I'm gonna die. Can't breathe from here. Fat cunt bucket slut. He done quit me. He done left me because of you. This just goes...
And this is called literature. So 200 years ago, literature was... It's hard to read right now the classics, right? Because the language is so different. And now you say just
Oh, it's-
shit. This is the words that you use when you write books? Shit? Fuck?
Bucket,
Pussy?
slut, whatever.
Slut? Whore?
Yeah. Throughout it.
So in 100 years, the whole English language is going to be changed. We're not going to recognize the language.
Again, you look at the sexual assaults that are going on in school and the fights and the teachers, the young female teachers that are sexually abusing the students. You've got to ask yourselves, is this what they were reading? And is this what they're reading in the culture that we are cultivating in our own schools? And again, this isn't even the curriculum, but it is what our tax dollars are paying for. And what one thing that we found in building the website, library books are done differently than books that are in curriculum, and they're governed different by state law. All of it's done very differently. And we were finding that several school districts, with this one, with Speak, the Lovely Bones, there might be 45 copies in a library.
45 copies.
So what that tells me...
Huge demand.
Well, it tells me that what has happened is that they used to assign books. Like when my kids were in school, they would assign a book and send a list home, like, and say they can pick from these 5 books, and these books are on there. And I remember Granite Bay High School in California, and our freshmen brought stuff home. And all I remember is one of the books, they were all terrible. One of them said, a parent might object because, and it said graphic rape scene. And I was like, well, then why is this even on here? And I picked the book, did what research I could. Internet was still a little bit new then. And picked a book for him. That's how things used to go. And that often you'd have to go out and purchase the book for them, especially if it's an AP English class. Well, now that parents and this whole book thing, parents are awake after COVID, what they're doing is having the librarian purchase them. So instead of having to send a note home, you let the kid pick the book, you walk down the hall to the library, and you grab the book. That's what they're doing to cut the parent out of these graphic books in freshman English class. And I'm just going to tell you, 2 years ago, Clarksville, Tennessee, freshman English class with a principal at the school that professed to be a Christian. Their last assignment, and this was an honors English, so 14-year-olds, the fourth quarter, the assignment was to read a banned book. And then write a piece.
Banned book, quote unquote.
Write a piece. And so they had the list. So the list had a lot of these. They had it on the list, and they said, the instructions actually said to go through these books to pick one. So go look at them so you can pick one, and then go ahead and do your report on it. Now, we uncovered it. We exposed it. But it had, let's go to the Bluest Eye. It had the Bluest Eye on it. Didn't have really any of the classics, but let's go to the Bluest Eye, because I don't have that one with me, but this is a common one.
Winner of the Nobel Prize, Toni Morrison.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was telling someone, and they were like, oh, no, not my beloved Toni Morrison. Again, I'm talking about minor children. Well, do you want to read the first part? And I'll go to the other excerpts. How's that?
He showed his privates at you? No, he touched me. Where? Here and there. She pointed to the tiny breasts that, like 2 fallen acorns, scattered a few faded rose leaves on her dress. Really? How did it feel? I didn't feel like anything, but it wasn't supposed to. Feel good? I mean, Frida sucked her teeth. What did he do? Just walk up and pinch them? She sighed. First, he said how pretty it was. Then he grabbed my arm and touched me.
In his mind, with cleanliness, he was what one might call a clean old man. Page 181. The little girls are the only thing I miss. Do you know that when I touched their sturdy little tits a bit, just a little, I felt I was being friendly? I didn't want to kiss their mouths or sleep in the bed with them or take a child bride for my own. Playful, I felt, and friendly. And then it goes on about two of them, and then it says, I did what you did not, could not, would not do. I looked at that little girl and I loved her. I played you, and it was a very good show. That's a common one that's assigned in 9th grade English. I don't have it here, but The Fault in Our Stars is another one. And again, we're updating our website. We are adding excerpts. We understand, I think I brought the haters. Do I see the haters here? Yeah, I do. It's a little different on our website. So we'll read from the haters. This is a new one that's really, really, oh, there's The Fault in Our Stars. The haters is one that is another award-winning one. Let me see, because it's gotten an award since the one I bought. Oh, it's from the author of Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, the Eat Pussy one. Sorry.
Jesse Andrews. It's he or she?
That is a really good question.
Let me Google it. Jesse Andrews, author.
Maybe it's a they.
It's a he. Well, it depends.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Okay.
a he.
It's a groomer for sure, I can tell you that. Excerpt. It was definitely my boner. No one was awake to stare in disgust at the lurky jailbreak of my sleep boner. Still had the boner, masturbated in a brisk, businesslike manner into the sink with the hotel conditioner.
Jesse Andrews is an American novelist and screenwriter. He co-wrote the screenplay for the Pixar film Luca, the animated movie that was like 2 years ago, and wrote both the novel and the feature film adaptation of Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. This is the guy they hired to write a screenplay for an animated movie for kids?
Well, yeah, you've seen Sesame Street's gone woke and liberal, and yeah. This stuff has become mainstream for our minor children. There is a huge effort to sexualize our kids from birth. Okay, you're in charge of the interview, but can I take you to the big bathhouse?
Yes, look, one moment. Flop in the box office. I want to say this movie flopped in the box office because it had a backlash because of the screenplay. I want to say.
Oh, I bet
yes.
It was.
Did not perform well at the box office, but labeling it a flop requires content. So the budget was. Where's the budget? Worldwide, it grossed 500 million, but the movie cost like 200 million, so it's you break even. Mm-hmm. So it's not a flop, but it's not good for a studio. Let's go where you wanted to take me.
Okay, go to the big bathhouse. This is in elementary schools everywhere. And so it's not the language, so you're going to need to look at for whatever reason, I didn't have it with me today. So go ahead and click at the bottom where it says view excerpts.
Yes.
Because we have the pictures.
Yes.
So this is a book, and we believe it should be removed from elementary schools and the library in elementary. And even the very first page we have there. The left says this is necessary because it's about Asian culture. Correct. And that you're a hater if you don't like it.
Racist.
Yes. But what I see as an American, I don't go to bathhouses, nor do my kids. But if I'm looking at a picture book in the kindergarten class at 5, what I'm seeing is a bunch of adults. I can't even necessarily tell that they're women with a bunch of naked kids in a pool. And it continues.
What the?
So the message I'm getting, if I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So they want to tell me that this is the Japanese culture. I believe that's insulting to Japanese. Any Japanese watching this video, comment below.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't come home from school and go, oh, hey, Mom, did you know the generations of mothers and grandmothers and daughters? Again, very popular one. So again, if you're having this in the elementary schools, and then the middle and high school. I mean, it's a repeated theme. Now, this is a new one that we're getting on our site. Sex is a funny word. Let me see if we have the excerpts. I really can't even tell. We just went live, and as you can see, we have 300 books. There's just a lot of information on here.
You've got one. Like other holes in our body, the anus is usually very sensitive, which means it can feel good to touch, but can also hurt if we are rough with it. Elementary school?
And middle.
It can feel good to touch.
This is a problem. They are after our kids, and we're allowing it. And so that's... And as you'll notice, with the exception of All Boys Aren't Blue, I didn't pick LGBTQ books.
Correct, none.
None. Now, the media would make you think that that's all we care about, and that's all we're trying to fight.
Homophobic.
And, oh yes, and from American Psycho to Push to all of these, none of it is LGBTQ. So there are some. There are some.
By the way, in regards to American Psycho, do you know that this movie was made, I want to say, early 2000, and this book is now, it's called like a classic.
Oh, yeah.
Memes,
total
pictures,
classic.
it's so cool.
Okay. Let's go to a middle school one, The Art of Racing in the Rain, and then I'm going to go to...
The Art of Racing in the... Oh, I know this book.
Look,
I've seen the movie.
Wouldn't you want to read it to your son? Look, the sweet puppy.
If this is the one that I saw the movie was great.
Again, books are different
than
they're made into a movie. They fell onto the bed, and he mounted her, and she said, "The field is fertile, beware." And he said, "I embrace the fertility." And he plowed the field until it grasped the sheets in its fists, arched its back, and cried out with joy. How would a parent know that this can be sitting there? They're
Correct.
thinking, "Oh, The Art of Racing in the Rain. We love dogs. And this looks like our dog." Elementary school's all over.
And feel like if you take away this excerpt, nothing's going to change. The book is going to be relevant.
And
they just add it. Why?
Yes. And so what we do, when you first click on the book, you see the excerpt that you've been reading or I've been reading. But then you can click on
View and download.
more excerpts and see more and more. Elementary school. What redeeming value does this have?
Page 72. The smell would have given me an erection if I'd still had testicles.
That's why when I met you, yes, I'm the queen of porn, but it's only to protect our children. I consider this erotica and pornographic material that, again, and if adult wants to read, adults are really reading the Sarah J. Maas books. Actually, let me get some excerpts from that.
Would you say percentage-wise, how many percent of them that are reading those books are male and female? More female?
Female on the Sarah J. Maas. Female on the Sarah J. Maas. I only once, actually, it was my husband that said, I just saw a man reading that because my poor husband has to put up with. Okay, let me see which one I have. Okay, A Court of Mist and Fury. It's green. They all look the same. His tongue swept my mouth again, and in time to the finger that he slipped inside of me, my hips undulated, demanding more, craving the fullness of him, and his growl reverberated in my chest as he added another finger. I moved on him. Lightning lashed through my veins, and my focus narrowed to his fingers, his mouth, his body on mine. His palm pushed against the bundle of nerves at the apex of my thighs, and I groaned his name as I shattered. My head thrown back, I gulped down night cool air, and then I was being lowered to bed gently, delicately, lovingly.
Why would you say those books are so popular amongst women? Because they lack this? They want this? They're not loved?
someone that reads these. So
They're lonely.
they might be lonely. This one has become a fad. I mean, I will be at a coffee house and I'll walk by it and someone will be reading it. So I'll ask them something to figure out. So college age is very big for this stuff. And I will say even Christian Focus on the Family's got some great resources on Christian women getting addicted to porn and erotica. And so, yeah, I think there's
Books or videos?
through books. And I will share that I did the Comeback California tour with Pastor Jack Hibbs, and in the last year, I have been confronted by two different teenagers, teenagers, Christians, that have gotten addicted to porn through reading books. And it was, again, innocent until you start to read it, and then you're reading more, because it's sort of like the one scene where your body's reacting and endorphins are going, and you don't know why, and you're fighting it. And so, yeah, so the kids are doing this. So the Court of Mist and Fury, I will say, in every school district that I've been involved with a challenge of the court, the Sarah J. Maas books, they have all been removed. I mean, that's how bad they are. Where The Lovely Bones is kept. My school district kept The Lovely Bones in Clarksville, Tennessee. Push is often kept. The Bluest Eye is often kept, but often they remove the Court of Mist and Fury ones. And I will tell you on that one, so I posted on my Facebook page, and they're all kind of futuristic books. And my nephew in Colorado said, you know, all I read is futuristic books. And he said, I couldn't read those because it's erotica. And I didn't know if he was teasing me or not, because, you know, he's my nephew and I'm kind of the auntie on this crusade, and he's not necessarily a believer or conservative, probably more libertarian, but doesn't at all. I thought he was kind of joking me, and I said, hey, are you making fun of your auntie? And he said, no, I'm serious. It was too erotic. So again, I think he's about 35 years. I mean...
Futuristic, you mean sci-fi?
Yeah.
Too much erotica in sci-fi?
Yeah, and all these Court of Mist and Fury. He's like, that's all I read, and I couldn't read it because it was too erotic.
35-year-old.
Yeah, I'm like, are you teasing me? You know, are you teasing me? You're a guy, and you don't care about these things, and...
Anything left, or should we go further?
I mean, I could go on. Well, I do... Okay, I'm going to bring up a gay book. And the reason I want to talk about, and I think you've had people on the show talk about this book is gay, is that it is all throughout schools. Oh, sorry. Where's our producer when we need them? Okay. But the interesting thing, and I can move these too. This book is gay.
It's actually the name of the book.
Yeah.
It's not the description.
Yeah. Interesting. But this goes on and on. This tells you and encourages kids to get on the Grindr app, which is a gay dating app. It is full of anti-Christian themes. It actually says Jonathan and David were gay. It talks about...
John and David were gay?
Yeah.
How did they know that? I read the Bible, nothing either.
Yeah, no, and that's actually a common one. Well, it's kind of like the Log Cabin Republicans, where they say that Lincoln was gay. Again, they around the world in 80 gays. Oh, it goes on and it talks about how to answer those homophobic Christians with arguments, and that's where David and Jonathan were gay. Very adult-oriented in being gay. It's a how-to book, really, and an anti-faith book.
Middle school?
High schools, some middle schools, but high schools, and it's a common one in high schools. Again, this is one that we oppose and think should be removed for being pervasively vulgar. Not because it's gay, that bothers me, but it's pervasively vulgar, and we don't need to be telling our kids how to have homosexual sex, to go on the Grindr app, and how to find a partner to do that. We don't need that in our high school minor kids. We don't need it at all, but we certainly shouldn't be paying for it with our tax dollars.
So in this book, there is a call to action to Trevor Project, right?
Oh yeah. I'm sure most of the All Boys Aren't Blue are part of the pushing of the Trevor Project, which again, as you know, in California, there's a bill to try and send your student IDs to send them to the Trevor Project. It's actually passing through the legislature in California right now.
So they would do what?
Any question they have, they go to the Trevor Project, and then there's all sorts.
Oh yeah,
yes, but they want it on every single
Correct.
student ID, so they're, pushing it.
So Trevor Project is for gays only, right?
Yes, LGBTQ. It could be AI.
Plus, plus.
It's expanding every day.
Okay, so when did this all start? You noticed this during the COVID, right?
Well, there were people that were paying attention to it before me. So again, I say that I would poo-poo them, thinking, oh, who cares about one book or whatever? They're just going in the library. I would say I got passionate about it, right, kind of around COVID and just when I started researching and seeing it. I'm very big on parental rights. I've been, like in California, I did 900 public record requests when the sex ed curriculum first came out.
900?
Yeah, every school district. I'm sort of crazy like that.
I can see that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's great when TSA checks my books, and I'm like, oh, great, I'm on the far right wing and the porn list with the TSA. So I did it because so many school districts, everybody now knows, and it's the big thing in California to be like, oh my gosh, did you know they're teaching this in sex ed? But when that bill was going through the legislature, there were only 2 organizations that opposed it and testified, and I was one of them opposing it. And everybody else just thought, I was crying wolf. I'm like, no, this stuff is going to mean we're going to have to teach anal sex. We're going to have to do this because the law really clearly laid out what we're going to have to do. Well, there were school districts saying, we're not teaching that. We would never teach that. And I was like, okay. So I did the public records request. And sure enough, everyone was doing it. I just got an email from someone in the last 24 hours from a school in California, 5th grade, where they're not letting them opt out of the gender ideology parts of the sex ed. And they're doing it in 5th grade, even though it's not mandated till middle or high school. So that's where my kind of passion was with that mandatory sex ed and how bad it was getting and how many states were following California's lead as the California Healthy Youth Act. So that's kind of where I was. COVID hit, the FOIAs or public record requests started coming in. So I got them and stumbled on the books, and other people were starting to take up the sex ed, so I'm happy to help when needed, but this was pretty untouched, and so I just really dove into it and was blown away at seeing how many red states, blue states, red counties, blue counties, and that we as voters, taxpayers, can and should do something about it. And so that's kind of when that crusade started. But can I say something about the sex ed? Because a lot of people don't know this. So when I was doing the sex ed, this would have been 2013, 14, 15 when the law was passed, maybe 2015 California Healthy Youth Act. Our organization actually went out and we purchased all the compliant, what California would consider compliant with the law, sex ed curriculums. What people don't know, so you get these notebooks or depending on what company they're coming from, you get the lessons. But what people don't know and what no one's going to tell you is that the notebook you get with the lesson plans that they kind of copy, and that's what they hand the parent when the parent comes and wants to see it. What they don't tell you, and they usually take out of that, is there's often a flash drive that comes with it with controversial issues. There's also, they take off the front sheet, the Positive Prevention Plus. They take the front sheet off that tells you how to get all the updated lesson plans. And because I've purchased it, I have access to go in and look at the updated lesson plans, just like teachers do, and the controversial plans. So if you think the stuff you're seeing when they hand you is bad, it's even worse, the stuff they're encouraging the teachers to teach. And so it's just...
So they're handing the parents...
Well, yeah, there's
kind of another version of the way that...
Well, yeah, because the notebook comes and it's got all the lessons, and so you go, oh, I want to look at it, and so you look at it, and it actually is bad on face value in California. All the California compliant ones are. But what parents don't know is that teacher has all sorts of supplemental at her hands that has been approved already by approving that curriculum to update to it, to add to the chapters, tells her questions to ask. A lot of times teachers will say, well, I can't stop organic conversations. No, but you can start them, and they do. And so they tell them how to start those questions so that then the conversation is had in the whole class, and the teacher has a defense to say, hey, somebody brought that up with a question. Well, when you're leading them, that's what's going to happen. And so that's how a lot of teachers choose to get the stuff in and then say, hey, I couldn't help it. She asked the question.
Or shut the question down. Well, there are some questions that are going to get discussed only inside the family.
No, they're
right?
already trained on how to get them to ask those questions so that they can defend answering them. That's what's in the supplemental materials.
Did you get to find out who was the patient zero? I mean, when did it all start? Who started this?
Well, this all goes back to Kinsey in the 40s, and I don't know if you've met...
Alfred Kinsey?
Yeah, done much on Alfred Kinsey. And I'm not the expert on Kinsey, but I actually knew Dr. Reisman fairly well. And she's done amazing work. So Kinsey, who was not a doctor, who was a zoologist, who wrote the books on human sexuality in the 40s, and then really took off as being the basis, his studies for, which was it was all made into a movie as well, with really well-known actress. Anyway, the Kinsey thing, somewhat recently. Laura Linney, she's in it. She started in it. So Kinsey, so his research, again, zoologist who was a pedophile, his research was used in changing laws across the country and shifted the thinking, because he came to the conclusion, and everyone thought he was a scientist, that we are sexual from birth and that we need to embrace it. And don't want to do a whole Kinsey show here, but that he's very infamous for having the table 34, which was a table, and you can Google table 34, and it shows that, I think it's at 3 months, an infant having an orgasm.
Correct.
Yeah. So there was a woman, she's since passed, Dr. Judith Reisman, who thought, how did he know that? Yeah, you should go Google her on some of the like Phil Donahue shows. I mean, she was ahead of her time. Wonderful Jewish lady whose daughter had been sexually abused. And she started exposing Kinsey. And that's what started changing all these laws. So that brings us to how these, what a lot of people don't know, and they see people reading these books and, oh, they're not in my school, or how did they get in there? When obscenity laws were passed that said certain behavior and exposure to children, certain things are harmful to minors, and certain obscenity is harmful to minors. And when those laws were passed in the 70s, it just depends, legislatures went in and exempt public schools, public libraries, and universities from obscenity. So what if I were to give to my neighbor kid, or depending on what state you live in, there would be a law against something that I expose a minor child to that is considered harmful and could be either a felony or a misdemeanor, depending on what it is and where you live. is perfectly fine in the school. So that's where it starts, with the obscenity exemption and saying that obscene materials are fine in that educational purposes is a fine defense for having this stuff in the schools and exposing kids. So we've approved those. And I would love to say that I would love to see legislatures overturn obscenity laws, but everywhere where we've tried it, we've just come up against the American Library Association. Not that we're going to stop trying, but it's been very, very difficult to even get Republicans, because the librarians come in and play, oh, you don't want to put a librarian in jail. Well, if you're pushing porn on them, yeah, I don't have a problem with it if you picked that book and you're pushing it. But you've got weak-kneed Republicans in red states, just like we have in California. So you've got obscenity laws. But then there was a case, I want to say early 80s, and it dealt specifically, it's very narrow, and I refer to it as PICO, and it's often referred to as PICO. It's a case that deals specifically with who and how books can be removed from a public school library. I mean, it's very specific to that. It's not about what you purchase. It's not about any of that, but it's how you can get things removed. So it was a Supreme Court case, so it really doesn't matter what states say when it comes to this, because they're not higher than the U.S. Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court case, which was a plurality, and I'm not a lawyer, play one at work, but it's often been referred to by the lower courts as binding. And what it said, and this is what we're very much, why we built Take Back the Classroom, and we've got materials and resources for parents and community members on there. It said a couple of things. It said you can't remove something because of political ideology, political viewpoint. Okay. So in California, that might be different than Alabama, again, depending on what some of your non-discrimination laws are. But something like genderqueer can be removed, not because it's political ideology, but because it's got graphic blowjob scenes that are pervasively vulgar. I don't care if it's a boy on boy, girl on girl, boy on girl. I mean, it's pervasively vulgar. So they don't get a free pass if they have a political viewpoint. But that is where that First Amendment line is drawn. And so pervasively vulgar and educationally unsuitable are the two terms that the court came out with, that you can remove things that are pervasively vulgar or, not and, or educationally unsuitable, which all of these would fall under educationally unsuitable to the common person. So that's what people need to be writing their book challenges. And so everywhere across the country has a challenge process, because that PICO case said the authority to remove these books is with the administration and the school board, not the librarian, the administration and the school board. And so they have the power. They need to be setting the policies about how to get rid of these books. And so what happened is the American Library Association, along with all the different school board associations, came out with a policy that makes it very difficult for parents to get books removed. And so we have a model policy on our website that Chino Valley Unified has passed that policy, and I think Redlands just had a similar one, where it makes it easier and it kind of cuts out the middleman. So here's traditionally what the American Library Association policy says. It says only a parent can challenge a book, and some go as far as saying a parent in that school, not even just the district, can challenge a book. And then the librarian will decide. And if they talk to the parent still wants the book, and again, they will use the word banned, and I would say removed, because it's sexually inappropriate for minors. They then put together a committee. They're in charge of the committee that's going to read the book. It's a committee made up of the same people that think this stuff is already okay for our kids. And after some sort of 1 month, 3 month, 4 month process that's in secret, they come back to the parent. By this time, the parent's name has been leaked, and everyone is saying, oh, your mom's a book banner. Your mom hates gay. You know, that has gone on while this committee is meeting. And then they come back and they say, well, the book has literary value. The rape scene is germane to the story.
If you remove it, the book is like done.
Well, yeah, it's got literary value. Well, okay, it may or may not. That still, there's no reason to expose rape kids' minds.
Correct.
Minors' minds. I don't care how much value it has, literal. I mean, you've got other books. So it'll come back, and then you can go through the appeal process, taking it to the school board. But keep in mind, you've already been labeled a book banner. Even your friends are like, really? You hate, which is why I recommend not. This should be one of the last books you challenge. You should challenge the other books. Build credibility in your community to win, because even genderqueer, people hear and see that, they have no idea. But they don't, even well-meaning Christians or lawmakers are like, I don't want to touch it. But if you have built some credibility with all of this graphic material, and you come back and say, no, it has nothing to do with being genderqueer. It has to do with being pervasively vulgar. And you can then get that book removed. But if that's the first book you challenge, you're labeled as hating gays, and it's hard to then flip the script and get your message out.
Do those parents get smeared and harassed?
Oh, absolutely, all over
bad?
The country. Yeah, and well, really bad. I mean, to where you've got. We've got it going on in Huntington Beach right now, where they're getting smeared over the Huntington Beach City Council. I'm going to be there this coming Tuesday. City Council passed where the books in the public library that are all of these have been removed and put into the adult section, not removed from the library.
Just the section
just put into the adult section, and requires parental permission. And the ACLU and the American Library Association came in, gathered signatures, and it's going to be a ballot referendum to overturn it in Huntington Beach. Huntington Beach is one of the safest cities
Correct.
in America. Their city council passed this. They flipped their city council. I mean, they got one of the books that one of the new city council members was running on was the whole the big bathhouse in the little kids section where you sit down and open up that book. And the city council member was defending it, saying, I'd read this to my 4-year-old anytime. And he flipped the seat, and he took that guy's seat. Chad Williams did. And so, again, the ACLU has come in. So that's going to be ground zero to really, and what they're doing is, they've just gone after that city council as book banning, and you hate gays, and you hate. No, I don't want the big bathhouse. I don't want my 4-year-old or 3-year-old, when I take them to the library, to open it up and start seeing that, not even knowing what it's implanting in their head.
But it's not about even our kids. I don't want my
Right.
neighbor 4-year-old to get those
Exactly.
books.
Exactly. And kudos to the city council for doing what they did. And now we've got to rally behind them to push back and say, no, this is not okay to have kids exposed to this in our public libraries. Just because obscenity is legal doesn't mean we should have it. And there are things, and I expect our elected officials, whether it's our city council or our school board members, to do something to protect our kids' innocence. And that's, for me, as a Christian, there's lots that bothers me, and what I might be upset about in my local community would maybe be different than what I do running a public policy group. But when it's sexualizing kids, and the Overton window meets our tax dollars doing it, we have an obligation to do something about it. And so that's what I'm just passionate about for this next decade, is to help parents, community members, grandparents get these books legally and effectively removed. And again, spreading the word and stopping the taxpayer dollars. I remember I was at a school board meeting, Chino, after they passed the policy, nothing I was doing. Teachers were there fighting for a raise. And apparently I was pointed out to the LA Times. And he came over and he's like, this is also on my Instagram. He's like, so, you wanted to ban books, and you're the one that wrote this policy, and blah, 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 blah. And so...
Ben, you mean it means you can't even buy it. You can't even have it in your purse.
Right. So I said to him, and I need to come up with a few more lines, but I had just testified in Tennessee over a book that was in a high school in Tennessee, and it's in schools throughout California too, by Heather Corinna, called Sex, the Preteen, whatever. It's a big yellow book. You've probably seen it online. We've got it on our Instagram. And it talks about butt fucking and anal sex. I know. So when the LA Times said, you want to ban books, I said, well, here's what I don't know what you're talking about, but what I'm talking about is getting rid of pervasively vulgar books for minors. Books like talking about butt fucking, and he did what you did. And you need to do that, because that's what I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, because I'm not trying to get rid of Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, or some book that has a sentence with the word masturbation in it. That's not what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And he didn't know what to say, but I was making my point. That's what I'm talking about. We need to get the message out that is what we're talking about. I am not talking about classic literature, Huck Finn, any of that. I'm talking about these. And our website shows how deep and wide these books are. And we don't even cover everything. This is phase 1 of our website. We have plans for phase 2 and phase 3. This is just phase 1. And as we're launching, and we just launched a few months ago, there's still some things we need to get up that are with the books there, but we have a whole nother list of books that have been brought to us that I have looked and said, yep, that needs to be on the website. And so in our second phase, those will be added. So this is by no means the most comprehensive list. This is just where we've gotten so far, and we want to get them all up there. And I want to say to your viewers that if it's not listed on our site, it does not mean that there's not pornographic books in that school. It just means we haven't been able to get it up on our website yet. Again, this is a huge task to cover 50 states. There are 13,000 school districts. And our first review of books was about 327, I want to say. So to continue to search those 327 in every single school district is huge. And then we're going to branch out to, our second set of books.
How big is your team? A lot of volunteers?
A lot of volunteers. We have a very small team with a lot of volunteers, and our staff pretty
God
much
bless you.
Working full-time on this. But as I said, God just really laid it on my heart during COVID that our kids are being sexualized. And yes, in the transgender and all of that. That'll be in phase 2 or 3, where it's just the transgender propaganda, which is not necessarily pervasively vulgar, but there are so many out there in these schools pushing the transgender agenda. Parents are bad. Teachers and trusted adults are good.
Would you say you reached the apex, or you're still climbing the mountaintop?
On which part? The books?
The books. The sexualization of kids.
The books that we found were very close to the apex. And if it's not on our site, I certainly have access to it.
And the amount of it. Is this the apex?
It's close. We're 75% there. But
there's still to come.
Well, like California is our a state that we have I think 62% of the school districts covered. And that's the most out of all the states. I mean,
is it the worst of the worst?
It is California isn't.
Which one is? Let me guess. Oregon?
Oh, no, but I'll tell you a story there. But no, Florida.
Florida is the worst?
Hillsborough County, Florida. Reno, Nevada. As a matter of fact, Nevada, which is turning purple, turning red, is the second, and this is without Clark. I have 3 schools in Clark County, which is the 5th largest school district in the country. Clark County, so it's really not included. And Nevada is the second worst in the whole country as far as pornographic books to school. And so I'm just throwing that out there. So yes, Oregon is bad. So I was just up in Grants Pass, Oregon, where it's the most conservative county. The Republican Party there flipped all of the seats. They control city council now. They have a 5-0 on the school board. And I was speaking up there about a month ago, and I decided to kind of see, well, what books are we talking about, before I do my presentation, and the butt fucking book was there. They have a 5-0 school board. I let a couple of the people that invited me there know that, hey, I might be shaming the school board. There is no excuse for this book with 5 conservatives on the school board that this is in their school. This should have been dealt with a long time ago.
Did they know this?
They didn't know that book was there. They brought me up because they know I do this.
Correct.
And they wanted, and they are trying to work with me, but I've been doing my porn tour about exposing this, and so in a couple of days after I'm done speaking, I'll be able to. I'm actually meeting with some attorneys to try and get some legal help. Because while I sound like I'm an attorney, I'm not. I just play one, and I know this issue very well. And what they're doing in Oregon, they're getting ready to flip another school board next door in right next to Grants Pass. I can't remember it right now, but that school board, the issue has become big in the school board race, and so the school brought in the American Library Association to their last meeting to give like a presentation about how you can't get rid of any of these books. And, so again, parents, community members who want to do something, their own legal counsel is telling them you can't do this. And that's a lie. It's a flat out lie. And so I was just in Nevada where, this is fun. Nevada, Carson City, big fight amongst the Democrats because, again, it went for Trump. There's a battle, between it turning red or blue, all of that's going on. That's kind of the political background. So similar, we flipped several in California to red, but similar in that it's a supermajority there, but just barely. They gained seats, Republicans or conservatives gained seats in Nevada. And so the progressives introduced a bill that would make it a felony for anyone to unduly influence for the removal of a book. Would make it a felony to call out an elected official by name. That would be defined as doxing them. Now,
how about the First Amendment?
All of that is an issue, not to mention, some of my best, actually, I read from American Psycho, and I hope, right now the bill is dead. It got sent to what's called Ways and Means, which is like in California, it would be similar to appropriations. So I'm hoping it went there to die. And they let me read my whole section. But when they introduced this bill, the entire hearing was about obscenity and the Miller test, which has nothing to do with what governs library books in schools.
What's the Miller test? The
Miller test is what was used as far as free speech in obscenity laws. And it's a 3-prong test that you have to meet. That's a general free speech issue with, what's in the school library or that kind of thing, or what's considered obscene. And it has to do with community standards, all sorts of things. But PICO governs the removal of books in schools. And so they were talking about the Miller test, which is a higher threshold than the PICO case. So my testimony was, and you can find it on our Instagram, which I don't have a lot of followers, but you'll be able to find it on there. It was really good. And so I read from it, but I said, why are you even talking about the Miller test and obscenity? Nevada is explicitly, your schools and libraries are exempt from any obscenity, so no one can get in trouble already for obscenity. So teachers are already protected. So I was there just last week, and I made a little basic 101 on PICO. And I ran into the progressive that's up for re-election that was introduced this bill. And I said, Assemblywoman Miller, I actually love doing this. I was like, I testified. Well, first of all, she was with another Assemblywoman. And these people, they're no different than you and I. I am a homeschool mom who got a D- in 8th grade government. God has equipped me. I never even knew you could go to the Capitol and talk to someone. So God has equipped me. So I went up to her, and she was leaving an interview with another Assemblywoman. And I said, hey, I'm Karen England, and I testified on this bill via telephone. And the other assemblywoman says, we've got to go. And I just looked at her and I said, oh, are you opposed to free speech, to her talking with me? She didn't know what to say because, again, they think they just run around doing what they do, that they know everything. She goes, oh, no. And she said, I'm going back to my office. So I engaged in just a nice conversation with this assemblywoman, and I said, why were you talking about the obscenity laws? Did you know that Nevada has a very clear exemption on obscenity and that schools and libraries are exempt? And so the Miller test, which is what defines obscenity, isn't even relevant to the schools. She's like, well, no, it is. It's the threshold. So I said, well, no, the Pico case is. And if you really care about the law, to which she interrupted me to tell me how much she cares about the law. And I said, well, then why are you citing something that's not relevant? Well, the Miller test decides. And I said, well, no, the Pico test decides. That's why I'm trying to give you this handout on it. She said, fine, I'll take it. And she walked off. But the people writing the laws didn't know that. Ledge counsel wrote it, and I'm like, they're just all so deceptive on this issue. And that's what parents are up against. And so our website, takebacktheclassroom.com, our organization, we exist so that we can help you protect the innocence of all of our kids.
Would you say America is hijacked?
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody has kind of saw it, both when the election happened, but everything we're seeing since the election, how they're willing to dig in on letting boys into girls' bathrooms. I'm an adult, and I don't want a male who says he's a girl in a bathroom next to me. I'm just uncomfortable. I do come from a sexual assault background. That is triggering for me. I feel unsafe in any sort of situation like that. And I don't know why I'm called a bigot or a hater, because I want to feel safe when I'm going into a private place to do my private business. As an adult, let alone our kids.
What would happen if you identified yourself as a lesbian, for instance? Would they then care about your safety? Saying the same things?
Oh, well, they'd care about my safety from Christians because we hate them, which I don't.
They're so bad.
I just don't want to go to the bathroom next to Bruce Jenner. I just don't. It doesn't make me a hater. He's a male, clearly. And I'll call him Caitlin. I won't call him she. People change their names all the time. That, for me, isn't the hill I'm going to die on, but the pronoun is, because that's a lie. If somebody wants to call me, I come from Boulder, Colorado. Everyone that I grew up with calls me Karen Sue, because my mom's name was Karen too. So my family all called me Karen Sue. I never go by that, ever. The name isn't as big of a deal to me if a kid wants to use their middle name or whatever. But the pronoun use certainly is. And any boy or girl believing they're the opposite sex, that's a problem. We shouldn't be having girls in the boys' bathroom either, or in the girls' locker room. It just is common sense. And America has woken up in this last election on that, and certainly the administration has. But you see how the left is digging in tooth and nail and saying, I'm a transgender woman. No, that means you're a man who thinks he's a woman going into women's facilities. And I'm not a hater. I am not a bigot, because I want to have those facilities protected for biological girls and women. Have your own bathroom, have your own sports team.
But they've got 90 genders, 90 bathrooms, restrooms.
And it's continuing to add. And so have a 90 gender bathroom, but don't expose me and my children and grandchildren to boys going in girls' private facilities.
So you told me that, in your opinion, it all started with Alfred Kinsey in the 40s, right?
Yeah.
But it all started to adding up in the what? In 2010s?
No, I would say people started to pay a little more attention.
When did that side excel?
Sex or transgender?
No.
There's a whole different thing. The sex?
Yes.
It's been around for a good, well, like I said, push 20 years. It's in its 25th anniversary, and my staff.
2000.
Yeah. So yes, and started getting into the schools more and comprehensive sex ed. Again, because the Kinsey stuff started in changing laws and changing curriculum and this idea that we're sexual from birth. So that started with Kinsey, but then the universities, and then it filtered down into the K through 12 schools. I mean, I've been yelling for the last couple of years. People are like, when the George Floyd situation happened, they're like, oh, we have activists on college campuses. No, we've been doing this in K through 12. I'm glad there are organizations that are focusing on how our college campuses are liberal. Our kids were prepped to do that when they went into that college because they're being taught this in school. So I would say yes, the 20s. And then even in 2013 is when AB 1266 came out that said in California, that boys are allowed to play on girls' sports teams. And I think it's important, our language, that we don't use their language. I don't say transgender. I say a boy who believes himself to be a girl. And I believe he may really believe that. I have compassion for what I would say is confusion. I have compassion for that person. Teens go through a lot of struggle, sexuality, all of that. They're bombarded with it. So I understand kids are struggling with this all over. But the answer isn't to go with that struggle and to push them one way or the other. But, you know, the left is very, 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 very crafty. Do you know before that came out, that in California, and I think there's about 7 or 8 other states, they made it illegal for a counselor to do anything but affirm their homosexuality or their gender. So in California, it's illegal for a counselor to do anything but affirm them in whatever it is they're feeling. So if you want to take your kid who feels like he's in the wrong body or she's in the wrong body, the only thing a counselor can do is affirm it. They can't probe, do you really feel this way? Have you been sexually abused? I mean, what's going on? They can only affirm it. And so that was in the early or the late 2015, 2013.
So you're saying this is the left doing, right? Mm-hmm. The left that I know, so 1992 to 2000 Clinton era, right? I believe that this left is way different than Obama left and the Biden left.
I will say Obama left was bad and people didn't look because, again, they would be called a racist. I'll give you an example. So when Obama came out, and people probably don't remember this, but Obama's Department of Education came out just like Biden's did and said that Title IX means that we have to have our kids, our boys in girls' bathrooms on overnight trips. I mean, you need to know this. Overnight trips without telling you that your girl is rooming with a boy who thinks he's a girl, because that would violate that child's rights to let your child know. And that's happening all over. But when that letter was sent out, he praised, I mean, how long ago was this? He praised Washoe County, which is Reno, Nevada, which was red back then, for their transgender policies they already had in place. Allowing boys in girls' locker rooms to play on the girls' sports teams and to go on overnight trips. He praised them. There were school districts who had already advanced it, and he referenced them in his letter to all the schools.
But on paper, the left, the Clinton left and the Obama left is the same thing. Hillary, right?
Well, it's Hillary. Bill Clinton was a politician who knew how to pivot, how to hide, how to tone things down. Hillary, was very aggressive and progressive, as was Obama. I think Bill Clinton would have gone much further, and personally is, but only could get away. And that's when Dick Morris stepped in, and helped him craft a more message to the middle and tone down some of his policies. And then Obama, and then Biden is just the Obama people on steroids, and that's what happened. And people don't believe it. I mean, you're in this realm, so you know how frequent it is. You know how many parents talk about their kids having the schools socially transition them. I mean, I was telling you, I was listening to a hearing in Colorado for 4 hours over a bill that wants to criminalize parents and take them away from kids who don't call them by their preferred name. The state wants to take your children away. And listening to the testimony of, they just are unabashed that, yeah, that kid should be removed. If you're not going to
And placed where?
With the government. Oftentimes with the other thing is social services in a lot of states, including California, we were foster parents, have changed so that you need to, if you're a foster parent, even a Christian foster parent, if he believes himself to be a girl, and let's say you have all the girls'
You have to affirm.
You have to, well, not only affirm them, but you have to let the boy sleep in the girls' room. So let's say you've got, your daughter and a foster daughter, or that's kind of how you do it. If he says he's a girl, you've got to do it that way with the boy.
So I asked you whether America is hijacked. You said yes. By who?
Satan. I mean, ultimately, it really is a spiritual battle. It's sexuality belongs to God. These are biblical issues.
Written thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yes. I mean, yes.
The original.
Yes. So that's where it really, but the agents on the ground pushing this stuff, and I will say that they are the progressives. It's so funny listening to the people on The View that are like, the right's talking about this transgender issue. It doesn't exist. It exists everywhere. And so, the progressives have really been the marchers on the ground, the communists. Again, it was part of the Communist Manifesto, and I don't have it in front of me, but 24 and 25 were about making both homosexuality and obscenity normal and mainstream. And by fighting those of us that were fighting against it as being censors and banners.
That's in Communist Manifesto?
Yeah, Communist Manifesto.
By Marx?
Either 24 or 25, yes. And I will send you that because I've got it. Yeah. And so it's the breakdown of the family. And what better way to break down the family in the church than sex? Sex, when you look at the brains of someone who's sexually addicted to pornography, where you need more and more, what the endorphins do and what it does on heroin are the same. And so it's the left knows this. And so the endorphins, and that's why we've got these young girls that open up a book and then they don't realize until they need a little bit more racy, and they don't think anything of it because it's not a visual porn picture. I mean, they really aren't thinking as they're diving into it, but the endorphins are going.
But this wasn't a thing when you grew up, right?
Well, I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, so I cannot tell. I don't know how familiar you are with Boulder, but it's yeah.
So everything changed in the last.
But it did.
I want to say
it did.
20
I was
years.
in a very progressive school district, but yes, in the last 20 years, significantly an increase in sexualizing our kids. Both, it's on TV with the TV shows, in the books, and the curriculum in school has been the last 20 years, where it's all come together.
So you have 4 kids. All of them are grown up, right?
Yes. Or
They were used to go outside by their own, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you let your kids, if they were like, let's say, 7 to 10 years old, would you let them go outside on their own?
No, and I know
What has changed? In 20 years, so centuries, everything was kind of a normal. We all played outside on our own, but in the last 20 years, something clicked. We can't let our kids go outside on their own.
Well, I think the whole, again, it comes back to sexualization, but I also, and I love the churches that are active, and I'm actually in here in town taping this with you because some churches are active in this issue in Southern California. But the church has just refused to talk about these issues and said they're political. And I argue, no, they are biblical and protecting our kids and the sexuality that God has created for a purpose. Satan has distorted. And we've been afraid to be called names. We've been afraid to be called haters. And so I think parents have gotten bullied into being silent. And I think that some of this last election, I am not a fan of a lot of what Trump says or does. And I mean, I'm not for criminalizing, banning the flag, or burning the flag, even though my kid served over in Afghanistan and Iraq. But I do think stupid people can do stupid things. But that does not mean, and he can say, President Trump can say some silly things, but he is dead right on standing up for what the left has done to this country. And I think it's empowered parents and those of us, I mean, I'm seeing it on the ground, and a lot of it came after COVID, to stand up and speak up. And I used to think it was so corny when I would hear, we are the people, we are the government. People would quote Ben Franklin leaving the Constitutional Convention and saying, he was asked, what have you given us, a republic or a constitution? And he says, a republic, if you can keep it. And that, I used to think that was so corny. And now I'm so passionate about it because he knew it takes we, the citizens, to keep it. And I think we've gotten very, very apathetic. It's somebody else's job. I'm busy going to soccer and doing this and doing that. And I want families to do that, which is why organizations like us exist. I don't want you to drop everything and do nothing but this. I want you to be working in your church, in your community, homeschooling your kids. But it isn't done with just that. There's a whole culture out there that and politics we need to engage in order to protect our country and our kids. And it takes our involvement. And again, that's why our organization exists, to try and equip you to do it easily and legally and not spin your wheels, to know what the law says so you're not being overturned. I mean, they just overturned a school district in Colorado that got a bunch of books removed. Well, some of them were removed because of political viewpoint. And so that just muddied the whole thing. And so the sexual books are getting put back with the political viewpoint books. And so we need to start pushing back. And it takes all of us.
What was that political view that was...
I'm not sure which books it was, but I'm sure it was an LGBTQ book. Again, those can be challenged. There's a book called The Rainbow Parade. Well, it's got naked people. It's got BDSM. It's got naked people in their leather with balloons on the penis. Kohl's actually had it as a Kohl's book, a Kohl's Cares book. We exposed it, and Kohl's removed that from their Kohl's Cares website, where they donate $5 to kids. Those books can be removed, but genderqueer can be removed, but not because it's got a gay couple. It is pervasively vulgar. And here's the other thing you'll notice, because child pornography is defined usually as the picture. So you'll notice with a lot of this stuff, it's cartoonish because you can't tell if it's it's not a minor. There is no age that they can prove of that picture. But you could prove if it's a 16-year-old in an actual graphic book. That's why they're all done with cartoons.
But the words are the words. Butt fuck is a butt fuck. Yeah. You can't change that. No substitute.
Even I don't like someone else saying it, but yeah. Oh, and it goes on about if you get something lost in the vagina versus the anus. I mean, I was like,
this is the same thing.
Like, yeah, well, I know. I was like, I didn't know. I mean, it's stuff I didn't know, nor do I. It talks about blood play. I mean, it's chapter after chapter after chapter. That is in high schools.
What's the linchpin of all that? If you take this out, it all falls down. What is it?
It goes back to the Kinsey, that we're born sexual and we need to embrace it and we need to explore it and explore our own sexuality. And that's a worldview. And it really, really, really is held. And they are really, really passionate about it and pushing it forward, the progressives. And just listening to that hearing, person after person after person got up. They are just as passionate about their worldview and you embracing it as we are as a believer or a conservative about our worldview and living it out. And it all does go back. It does go back to Kinsey and the normalization and the idea that kids, and the left will tell you this, they're born sexual. They own their bodies. They own their sexuality, not the parent, no rules on them, and that they need to explore it. And even sex ed has become about how to have pleasure I sat at a school board meeting in Reno, Nevada, maybe 7 years ago, where they were talking about boys, because it was for the 5th grade, masturbating, and one of the citizens that sat on this sex ed committee interrupted because she wanted to know why we were only talking about the pleasure boys get and the clitoris or clitoris, however you say it. Why aren't we talking about that and the pleasure girls get? For 5th graders.
5th graders to what, 11
In
years
public.
old? 10 years old, 11 years old?
Yeah. In a public meeting to spend public tax dollars, why aren't we encouraging our girls to masturbate? And where the pleasure is in that.
But how did that generation become so pervert?
Oh, I think the 60s. I mean, I'm more and more. I watched a Bob Dylan film on my way out here because I was never a Bob Dylan fan. Fascinated by, have a lot of thoughts. I really need to kind of think through.
In his own words, he sold his soul. Did you see that video?
Yeah, and
on the record.
And he has become a believer. And it's funny listening or watching the movie, kind of just seeing. I mean, God has been working in all of us way before we knew it. Because I didn't become a believer until I was about 30 years old.
35.
Yeah. So he's been working on us. And I grew up in a very liberal town. I was in a conservative family, but not a religious family. Had some I was a little bit of a feminazi, especially early on in my...
Feminazi.
Yeah, that was me. You got to try the car before you buy it. And I mean, I was always pro-life, but wasn't sure. I mean, I was like, really, should the government be telling us what to do? I mean, so I had, and I have no idea why that got into me. What was your question? I'm sorry, Apollo. Don't get me talking on sex or porn or all.
So that generation was changed by the 60s and
so
the
yes. So
hippies.
I wanted to, yeah. And I wanted to go back and so I watched that film. So I found it interesting. And just the lies women have bought into, Christian women have bought into, divorces, women having affairs and divorcing their men, even in the church is higher. And it's the whole feminist sex, it's your body, your right, your happiness, that this total self-centered thing that came out of this, that really did come out of the 60s in feminism for women. And again, it goes back to Kinsey with this idea that sex belongs to you. And you need to explore it, and it's yours to have and do, and it's empowering. And I mean, even these books make it sound like it's empowering, not degrading. And it just has escalated. And the last, I would say, Clinton started, certainly Hillary, and the UN rights of a child and all of that, but it went on steroids with Obama and Biden. And states got empowered, and the more they were yelling at conservatives and the moral majority, and you guys are bigots and haters, people stood back. I was new, right when I was looking at everything to get into, had a foster son, Rockland, California. Before I got active, I was reading in the paper about this lady that was ruining the public schools because she was going to these school board meetings and stuff, and she was ruining them, and she wanted to defund them and all of this stuff. And she was a Christian, and I'd been a Christian about 3 years at that point. I'd married a man who'd been a Christian missionary. So I wanted to see one of these ladies that is ruining the school, this vast right-wing person. Because again, my husband and his friends were very, very conservative. Of course, I'm the most conservative of them all now. And I was, like, he was with Campus Crusade for Christ. Like, I haven't met one of these. Like, who are these people that this op-ed keeps talking about? So I was like, I should go down there. Our foster son's going to be coming to our home soon. He's in high school. I go there, and I'm confronted with, put this button on. No, you do this, you do that. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd never even been to a school board meeting. I was like, I don't know. I went and I sat down to listen. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm it. I'm that vast right-wing person that they're talking about. I'm the crazy one. Because the school board member that they hated said, we should teach abstinence in sex ed. This was 30 years ago in Rockland, California. It's Kelly Nile. I'm still friends on Facebook. We still communicate. And she was the crazy lady that was trying to ruin the school district. And I will tell you this, I'm not going to name the church, but the head boy got up along with the ACLU. They actually sued this school board member. And that head boy, as we were searching for a church, his dad stood up and was on part of leadership at a very mainstream church. We immediately said, there's no way we can be at this church. They are suing this school board member. And he got up and yeah, he was a little activist. And the dad got up because he was heading the funding commission or whatever after there was some flooding for the church. I was blown away.
30 years ago.
30 years ago.
1990s.
Yep. I went to work for Capital Resource Institute part-time 1999, so this would have been, and this was before I did anything, so 4 years before that. So this would have been 1995-ish.
What do you think is the next step? So the steps are being made step by step, I won't say every year, right? So the books on the transgender stuff and etc. What do you think is their next step?
Well, I think they're starting to get some resistance. And so I don't know that they can push their next step. Obviously, it's to take our kids away and make them all transgender. I mean, they think the government knows best.
Okay, why?
Because they're evil and they want to destroy this. I don't even think they know why.
Do you think they're just driven?
They're driven by false thinking. A lot of them passionately believe this crazy stuff. I mean, you should hear some of the stuff that was going on at this hearing. I was like, what on earth? Like, these people are serious. How do they function in everyday life? What they're saying really is so crazy. And honestly, the average person would think that. I really believe that. And so, again, that's the battle that we're in right now in our country, is you've got the progressives who are not letting go. So what's going on in D.C. and what you see happening with President Trump, whether you like him or not, the pushback, the suing over everything, the, defending gang members, all of that, it is going on at the local level within your schools. And so you've got the local American Library Association. We talked about Huntington Beach, the ACLU, the progressives are fighting hard. But for the first time, Trump, and I think his win this time, has empowered people to go out and go, you know what? I'm not crazy for not wanting to go to the bathroom next to a boy, or for not wanting my kid exposed to anal sex in school as part of the curriculum. I always thought, but I thought I was alone and I was a crazy right-winger, or, like I did when I went to that school board meeting. Now there is pushback, and I feel like we've got this window of time to reclaim, and that's why we have Take Back the Classroom, to take back the classroom, restore our parental rights. We have parental rights, but if we don't exercise them, they're not going to be handed to us. The school isn't going to respect them. So this idea that, we have parental rights. No, you really don't unless you're exercising them. And so I believe we can push back and send the country in a different direction, but now is the time to do it. I feel like this election, no matter how you feel about Trump, the orange man, whatever you want to call him. I used to be a #NeverTrumper because I didn't think he was conservative. Anyway, but
in 2016.
Oh yeah.
No, you voted for Hillary?
Did. Okay. No, I didn't say that. So, do you have time for this story?
I got plenty of time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to dominate your whole afternoon. So, I was, at the time, we lived in Nevada, still worked in California, and I was a big Ted Cruz fan. And my objection to, I've been in politics long enough, and I'm not excusing it, but to know there's a lot of dirty, messy people, even conservatives, and that very rarely are there the true blue conservative who lives it out. It just isn't as common as I would have liked it. So my eyes have been open to that. But I was a huge Ted Cruz fan. He was a little nerdy, and I thought he needed to loosen up a bit, but I was fascinated. And so I was volunteering on his campaign in Reno, Nevada. And so I was part of the...
Didn't you know he wasn't born in the U.S.?
nor was Obama. So what?
Yeah, but this is not official, quote unquote. But Ted Cruz is officially was not born in.
Yeah. So, I'm so glad you're a new citizen and know all of this stuff. Anyway, so or came here recently. I don't even know. Are you a U.S. citizen?
No. Of
Do
course
I need
not.
to call ICE?
Yes.
Let me put my locator on my phone. I'm sure they're watching it. They can come right to where you are. So anyway, I was getting ready for the convention, and in Nevada, all Republican parties, depending on the state, do things differently. And in Nevada, you have to run to become a delegate to go to the Republican convention. So I was running to become a delegate, and I was, they do caucuses there. So I knew there were crazy Trump people already, because when I went to the caucus, I was like, oh my gosh, this Trump thing is taking off. So I had all this hashtag, I was all this anti-Trump stuff. Not because of the tape that was released from whatever that evening show was, because
You mean
a lot
the
of
grab her by the pussy? That tape?
you're just throwing those words out all the time now.
I'm just quoting.
Yes. So that one, I was like, yeah, that bothered me, but I also know, I'm not going to name any, but I know this politician and this, so that, it was because I didn't believe he was going to be conservative. And everybody thought, oh, Arnold was going to be so great for us. I never voted for Arnold. And I fought within the California Republican Party to make sure the CRA never endorsed him. I fought against Meg Whitman. I mean, I didn't vote for Meg Whitman. So I come from that kind of, it's black and white for me. And I also didn't vote for Governor Lee in Tennessee. Might have been different if it was going to be a close race, but he's not a true blue conservative, so I wasn't going to give him my vote. I wrote my name in. Anyway, so we were getting ready for the convention. I'd done a lot with boys and girls bathrooms, and I'd already kind of, because we were neighboring California, and we did a referendum on the AB 1266, which was the bill that put boys in girls' bathrooms. And so at that time, amongst activists, I was pretty well known. And then Ted Cruz dropped out like 3 days before the convention in Nevada. And it was all done on votes. And so I immediately, and I saw the Trump people were a bit crazy. I'm just going to say it. I'm one of them now. So I had to scrub my Facebook. I scrubbed all my social media because I had to get these people to vote for me because I wanted to go be a delegate. And for me, there were some other things. There was a big platform fight that was going to go on and all of that kind of nerdy stuff behind the scenes. And so I wanted to go be a delegate. And so I scrubbed my Facebook clean. And I'm familiar with people in politics, and so I got endorsed by gun owners of the gun owners organization because I'm big Second Amendment. So I was able to have a flyer that just endorsed me, all of that, and I ended up beating, I think it was the Secretary of State or the Controller with my votes, and I was an alternate delegate to the convention. But I had to scrub, and this just shows how uppity I can be. When I went to the convention, I'd been to the 3 before, either as staff or as a delegate with California. So I love the balloon drop. There's nothing like a Republican convention. I refused to go the night Trump was his acceptance speech because I was like, we have we missed it. Ted Cruz, Trump is just going to sell us out, blah, blah, blah. I refused to go. And then you get all these swag bags when you become a delegate, had all this Trump material. And I'm like, I want the maids to know that not everyone is a Trump fan. So I'm leaving it all by the trash can. I should have it now to have it. I mean, now I buy Trump stuff all over. But that's who I was. Again, it was because I just thought he was going to sell us out like they all do. I did have some good friends telling me, Karen, no, I'm telling you, he won't. Friends that I trusted, but it's like, I've been around politics a long time. I don't believe these people. So anyway, I was a hashtag never Trumper. Now I am on the Trump bandwagon, but because I think his policies are so necessary for this country, and I believe the battle over religious freedom all the cases at the U.S. Supreme Court are crucial to our country. And he's right on those issues. And I trust him on those issues and the people he's put in place. And so that's personally where I am. Our organization is a nonpartisan. I think our staff has all sorts of different views on all sorts of different candidates, even for the governor here in California. So we all have different opinions, but that was kind of my thinking on Trump. So actually my daughter would say to me, can you stop saying hashtag never Trump? But that shows my age. Yeah, I was a hashtag never Trumper. She's like, you were just a never Trumper.
So getting back to school, so I was always wondering, who are those teachers and who are those staff members that promote this stuff, that read these books, that teach that stuff?
90% of them all over the country are. And they come out of the teaching colleges. And let me say something about...
They're all perverted? You can't be a normal person and discuss those books with kids. You can't be a normal person doing that.
Well,
butt fuck with kids? Okay, so they're 16 to 17 years old. Why would you discuss anal sex in schools, masturbation in school?
Go look at our website, and those are in the library. And I can't tell you how many, like I said, are assigned. So
yeah, but those are books. Those are items. I'm talking about the people. Who are those people, teachers? What do they have in their minds? Why do they do that? They have no other options?
No, you either have a biblical worldview or an anti-biblical worldview. I mean, there really only are two. And whether they would identify it that way, but they are passionate about what they believe. They believe the kids need to hear this. They believe it's about tolerance.
Do they let this thing to experience that with their own kids?
A lot of them do. I mean, a lot of them are transitioning their kids. There were several kids that testified in Colorado that were minor children. What are the odds that a family has two kids, 13 and 9, that are both the opposite gender from what they were born?
0.
It's and impossible. They use the phrase assigned at birth. No, the doctor just didn't go, oh, I'm just going to assign this one a boy. No, he had a penis, so he's a boy. She had a vagina, so it wasn't just assigned, like, oh, I've done 3 boys, so it's time I do 2 girls. That isn't how it's assigned at birth.
Where in all that stuff, so sexualization of kids, transgender stuff, where's abortion?
Oh,
it's in the mix?
Oh, it's throughout all of these. Phase 3 of the website will be the books that aren't necessarily pervasively vulgar, but are promoting Planned Parenthood. Ellen Hopkins is a big one, promoting Planned Parenthood,
how
abortion.
Does she do that?
Oh, they tell them where the clinic is and how to go, and they chronicle the story of the character going and getting the abortion, and that's what kind of saves her life, because she can then go on with her life.
Killing one saves another one.
Yeah.
Great.
And normalizing it. Again, it's all about normalizing and desensitizing and re-educating from what you're taught at home, which again is why parents are, homeschooling is on the rise, private school is on the rise. These schools, now there are some good teachers, and we need Christian teachers in the schools, but the majority of these teachers are pushing this and are showing up at the school board meetings and advocating for this stuff.
So these are Christians. Where do Muslims and Hindus, for instance, stand?
I don't know where Hindus are usually with us. Muslims are usually with us. As a matter of fact, I sent out on our email list an Easter message, and a Muslim who is active because they believe in this stuff sent back that, I'm missing the point. She'd like to see me, accept Allah, and that most Christians are smart, but I've missed the boat. Anyway. So Muslims are with us on these issues in general.
Muslim kids go to the same schools, public schools?
They do.
For instance, if a girl, let's say 10-year-old, and she's a Muslim, she wears this...
hijab.
Yeah. She does that?
Yeah. She's allowed to wear that because I know it's a crazy idea to the progressives, but we have freedom of religion. As a matter of fact, the case before the U.S. Supreme Court in Maryland over whether or not elementary school kids in sex ed could be opted out of the transgender segments and pushing it. It was a Muslim, a Catholic, and I can't remember the other religion, parents that brought that case that was heard before the U.S. Supreme Court last week on that issue. They believe, like, the majority of them believe like we do on these sexual issues.
You mean the Muslims?
Yeah.
We've got here in California Bill Asaeli, right? He's always fighting. He's doing the good fight.
No,
So if I would ask you, who stands behind all this for the centuries? Would you name some kind of a group of people, or it always evolves?
You're asking really deep questions.
Because
I like this.
Alfred Kinsey, right? He has to be influenced. He had to be influenced
who
by
influenced
something
him
or somebody.
In the 40s. Yeah. Well, he was a homosexual pedophile, so I think he was sexually abused. I will have to research his childhood, because that's a really interesting question, and I really like that. To go before Kinsey, I would have to really do some research, but that's when laws in America started changing, because he started pushing, and I think the church withdrew itself from stuff.
What can parents do to eliminate those books from their child's curriculum?
Well, under PICO, these books can be challenged. Our website has the form. We help you chronicle the challenge. We will help you come in the school district and challenge them. I've been to Chino Valley numerous times. I'm going to be in Huntington over helping fight the library stuff there. Grants Pass, Oregon. I mean, our organization will help any way we can, provided we have time and I don't go 3 hours long on Apollo's podcast. But I appreciate very much, because they need to know that this is out there and that they can fix it. So I would say, get on our email list. Educate yourself on what's in your school district and how to get rid of it, and we'll help you do it. But I can't do it for you. I can only help you in each community do it. So I would say do that, and really do your research on your own school district, which is why we created Take Back the Classroom. So many people don't believe it. They think, oh, I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee, it's not in my school district, or I'm in Huntington Beach, it's not in my school district. I mean, we're the safest city. It's all over those school districts. It's in Florida. It's everywhere. So that's what I would say, is to get educated, and grandparents to get involved, and let's fight the fight together. Let's stop the sexualization of our kids.
Is it me, or more women are doing this than men? Male are more
it is
spending their time working?
It is. Well, are you saying I'm not working?
Yes, I'm a bigot, I'm a sexist, you name it. Homestay moms are more often.
Work harder. No, anyway, we'll have, that's enough. Do you want to have me back for lots of controversial podcasts?
I would love to.
So I would say it is. They're just, I mean, again, the moms and grandmas are just more in tune to this stuff and research, and we talk, and we're at Bible study together, and we share what's going on. And yes, the men are in the work world. I have mixed feelings about men's involvement in this, because I want to be sensitive to the fact that this can be triggering, and men really do. There's a lot of struggling with this issue. With pornography in men, and so I don't want to cause anyone to stumble.
What do you mean? You mean you can insult a man by saying that these books can be?
No, I don't think I can. Well, I don't think I insult them. I think that it might pique something that they have. It's a sin that they have stayed away from.
Yeah, but they're grown-ups. They're adults. They can watch porn. It's bad for them, but not for the kids.
Right. But if they don't want to open that door, and they see that as opening that door again. I'm just saying some men would struggle with this. I will say I've been to a couple of school board meetings in Texas, and they're there in their cowboy hats. They're great. And my husband just recently, after I did a podcast that he heard, and I was reminding him about the conflict I feel with the town I live in having porn, but I just can't drop everything, and it would take that for me to fight it in that school district. And I spent quite a bit of time, and we flipped the school board. I just feel like I'm beating my this book is gay. I challenged it. The Christian principal wrote me back and said, sorry, you're not allowed to challenge it. It has to be a parent at the school. So I got a parent at the school. Anyway, so I could, but again, he went to the same church I went to. So it's like, I don't want to beat my head against the wall. So God will bring someone. So my husband just recently came to me and said, I think this summer I was really convicted that this is going on in my town, and I teach at a private school. But he goes down and does the Good News Club in the kind of inner city in Clarksville. He's like, those kids have no one advocating for them. They're already getting a bad message. So I think he's going to take up the mantle in Clarksville, Tennessee over this. And I think more and more they will. Honestly, people don't know what I'm talking about.
They just don't know.
That's part of it. I think the men would be outraged. They just don't know, and they don't believe it. They don't believe it's in their school. It's that bad. I just showed you American Psycho. It's there.
So let me list you a few names. So you, yourself, right? Rebecca Friedrichs, Brenda Lapsack, Sonia Shaw, Melissa O'Connor. All women. No men. I have never met on Instagram, never seen on Instagram, or never met a male in my life that I would have and talk about those issues. Only mama bears are fighting this fight.
Well, I will say there is something to that. Reverend, John Amanchukwa that did
Correct.
So he does. And I text him graphic things all the time. I wanted him to read American Psycho, yeah, there aren't a lot. I honestly, even the porn stuff and this book stuff, it's really just been in the last 6 months, year, that people have been reading at school board meetings. And here's the other thing. This is why I'm meeting with some legal counsel to see if they can help our organization help other parents. That's why school boards are shutting them down from reading, because if people hear it, they're going to get outraged by it, which is why I read it. And that's why they're shutting them down at school boards. Well, I argue, and this is why I need legal counsel to come in and sue these school districts, you've approved this speech by purchasing it and having it in your school. So if I'm reading speech that you have already approved, you are just stopping my speech. Karen England's speech. Again, not a lawyer, just play one at work. And I want to explore that and start suing school boards that have these books that have been approved, because that's speech that has been approved and paid for, but you're not letting me read it to adults in a school board meeting. You don't like my speech because you've already said this speech is fine.
They just don't like you specifically.
Yeah,
not the book.
Not the first one. So yeah, join the club. I for whatever reason, I have very thick skin. I also started out as a mom where I knew it was going to be painful for my kids because they started out in public school. I knew it was going to be painful for them, and lots of drama when I started to get publicly involved. So I know that feeling of sensitivity of, I don't want my kids to suffer, and they will. And so I'm happy to take the heat and come alongside you so that it's not as bad for you and your family. And God'll prepare you to do it, because again, my goal was not to grow up, speak out against porn, and have people hate me. That was not. And sometimes my husband has said, now we're getting into the counseling of my marriage, my husband has said, you like conflict. I said, no, I hate conflict. I just like justice more. And that is just
they picked the fight, not you.
Well, they did. That's the other thing. This culture war, they're shoving cultural issues. No. You've been shoving them down our throat.
There was a culture.
Yes. And I'm just trying to push it back. So don't blame me that I'm coming with these hot button issues. No. You've dumped them on us. Yeah. And we're just saying, hey, no.
There was a culture.
Yes.
You changed it, adjusted it.
Yep.
Karen, God bless you. Everything that you do, I believe that's so important that And I'm talking about this just basically because I'm the resident of the California, the most beautiful place on earth, not only in the States, but on earth, right? We've got everything here, the mountains, the hills, we've got the ocean, the parks, Yosemite Park, Tahoe, Sequoia Park.
Okay, but you don't have water and fire hydrants.
Correct. Sorry. And I'm talking about this because I care about California, because I live here, and I care about my own country, because once how California goes, the U.S. goes. How the U.S. goes, little countries like mine go. So if you go bananas, my country is going to go bananas in 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't want to go for my country to go bananas, so that's why I would like to talk to people that have boots on the ground, that you took all those like 20 books, 30 books, and we've read through just 1% of them, and it's crazy. But fuck, like mind-boggling for kids. For kids.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you. I'm really blessed that God, I really love, this is crazy, but I love what I do. I love exposing, and I love helping parents and community members take back their schools, their communities. We need to take back America to what America used to be, where we were running outside playing and didn't have to worry about opening up naked kids when we take our kids to the library.
Correct.
I want that back.
Yeah, because it was safe. Once it was safe, so it means that's possible.
Again.
It's just possible that.
And I believe we're in that window of opportunity after this election where people have awakened and have started to speak up.
God bless.